A top-secret underground research facility developing bioorganic weapons has a disastrous viral outbreak. So a security team is sent in to assess and contain the situation. Hello and welcome back to Fatal Film, a horror movie watch-along video series where every 2 weeks I give you guys a horror movie, and then we sit down and we talk about it. It is Resident Evil month, everyone. Resident Evil month continues. We're doing Resident Evil themed content all month long. And so this time around for Fatal Film, we are watching the 2002 video game adaptation, Resident Evil. Now this is a really difficult movie to review for a number of reasons. First and foremost, do we look at this movie and base our review off of kind of like how faithful it is to the source material, which I'm a huge fan of? Well, if we were to do that, this movie gets like an F-. This movie is loosely based on Resident Evil. And second of all, we need to review this movie as a standalone piece, as a standalone individual film, and not allow ourselves to get bogged down in all of the baggage of the sequels, which there are plenty of, and all of which diminish in quality as the series continues. So if we can allow ourselves to get into that mind space, let's forget about the games, let's forget about the sequels, let's just review the one movie, the one film, and forget everything else. If you can do that, this is actually not that bad of a movie. The movie almost all takes place in the one place, the Hive. It's an underground research facility run by Umbrella, the super evil pharmaceutical company who's in the business of making bioorganic weapons. And then, predictably, disaster strikes, and there's a huge T-virus outbreak in the Hive. And then, shortly after, we get introduced to our main character, our heroine, Milla Jovovich, who is suffering from amnesia. She wakes up in this mansion, and just like the game, the mansion is just a front. It is just a secret passageway that leads to the underground research facility. And I really wish we got to spend more time in the mansion, because it's Resident Evil. It's Resident Evil. It's all about the house. It's all about the mansion. That's the whole point. It's like the main draw, the main set piece of the original game, and they really just blow through it, and they get straight to the underground research facility where like 90% of the movie takes place. So the plot actually gets very simple once we get down to the underground research facility. One of the main missions that the team had was to go in and shut down the artificial intelligence, the AI, inside of the Hive called the Red Queen. So the team is able to successfully shut down the Red Queen at great cost. At great cost. We'll get there in a second. And then that shuts down the power in the entire facility, and what that does is it opens all of the doors. Well, it turns out behind a lot of the doors the Red Queen was containing was the T-virus, the zombies. Because the team was under the impression that the Red Queen, the AI, had gone rogue and had screwed all of these people over, and all of the deaths were the cause of the Red Queen. So the Red Queen, she's kind of made out to be like an antagonist, like a villain. She's portrayed as like a little girl, which actually I thought was really cool. And it was a really kind of unique thing that's original to the movie. And so the entire time you think she's evil, but in reality, what she was trying to do makes a whole lot of sense. The T-virus is super dangerous. Super dangerous. So as soon as she detected that there was an outbreak of the T-virus, which was started by a person, she ended up putting the entire facility into lockdown in order to save the people above the surface. So even though she's supposed to be evil and creepy and you're all going to die down here,
you're all going to die down here,
in actuality, she's actually doing the right thing. So once the power is shut down, the door is all open, and then the team kind of realizes what they're up against down there and why everything was sealed off. There's a huge zombie outbreak now, and now the mission basically shifts from containing the situation to getting the fuck out of there. So that really is the plot of the movie. That's all you really need to know about it. There is quite a bit of kind of mysterious like backstories amongst several of the characters, especially Alice, because she wakes up with complete memory loss, and it turns out Alice is like a total badass. And in this movie, Alice is quite a bit more grounded than in the sequels. The sequels really get totally carried away with Alice, and everybody I talked to pretty much ended up hating Alice in the Resident Evil movies only because she became the sole focus of the films, and it really wasn't about the zombies or any of the other characters. It was really just Alice and friends. It was the Alice show. And that's why I think this movie is the best one in the series, because it's not so much of a focus on Alice. Obviously, she is the main character of the movie, but she's not like this insane, super-powered monster that she is in the sequels. So Milla Jovovich, she is the main character in this movie. She really does, I feel like, you know, say what you want about Alice and Milla Jovovich and all that, Paul W.S. Anderson casting his wife in every movie, but Milla Jovovich, I really think she does carry quite a bit of this movie. I think she's pretty good in this film. You also have Michelle Rodriguez playing Michelle Rodriguez. What she does, she's always the badass female. She's always mean-mugging everyone, tougher than all the dudes. And, like, speaking of the dudes, a lot of them are super fucking useless in this movie, except for, like, the squad leader. But the squad leader has probably one of the most iconic deaths in the movie, and he gets killed off way too soon. But, like, can we talk about the laser hallway sequence? It's probably the most famous scene in the movie, and you can't say that the movie didn't influence any of the games, because the laser hallway made an appearance in Resident Evil 4, and I think a couple other games as well. The laser hallway sequence was actually pretty badass. The leader, he was doing such a good job for a while. And the thing is, that's really sad about it, is that once he saw the laser coming at him and it turned into like the grid and he wasn't able to jump through it, had he just taken like 1 or 2 steps back, motherfucker, he would have been fine. He would have been fine. But your boy, Kaplan, one of the other guys in the movie, consistently fucks up in this entire movie. How many people does Kaplan get killed in this movie? Everybody in the laser hallway sequence, the blood is on his hands and he's like visibly shaken by it. And then there's that other scene with Kaplan trying to get the code for the door, and then he gives the code to the other dude puts the code in, and then he gets fucked up, he gets snatched by the zombos. So Kaplan is like one of the most frustrating characters in this movie. So I like how the team is there to like secure a viral outbreak. And so when they arrive at the mansion, they're all wearing their masks and everything. But once they actually get into the hive where the actual like outbreak took place, they take their masks off. It doesn't make any sense. I'm just like, man, if that were me, there is T-virus in the air going around, that mask would be glued to my face. But the movie's just like, no, we're paying that Michelle Rodriguez money. We're not gonna keep her behind a mask the whole time. Another one of the strong points I think with this movie is the ending. I think the ending is awesome. First you have the liquor and like the train sequence that's paying homage to the ending of Resident Evil 2. And then you have Matt, who got clawed on the arm. He's like starting to mutate and like weird kind of like tendrils start coming out of his scratch. And then he gets taken in by Umbrella and they're just like, put him in the Nemesis program. And I'm just like, oh shit. I remember watching that when I was a kid and being so excited, so psyched for the future of this series. What a goddamn shame. And then of course the final scene with Alice coming up onto the streets of Raccoon City. You know, you got cop cars with little like stars logos on them, and she grabs the shotgun and the big zoom out when you see just the city is just in absolute ruins, and it's setting up the sequel for Resident Evil 2. Even though the series kind of went all downhill from there, it is still a really like exciting ending, and I remember watching it when I was younger and just being super psyched for Resident Evil and the future of these movies. And I think overall I'd probably give this movie probably like a 7 out of 10. It's really not that bad. If this movie were called anything else besides Resident Evil, I think I would be a lot more open about liking this movie because you really do need to think of this as completely its own thing and really separate yourself from the video games and just look at this one movie alone. Forget about even the sequels. It's really not a bad film. But, of course, I'll be the first to admit, it's pretty hard to do that. Anyways, we have one more episode of Fatal Film during Resident Evil month. We're going to take a little bit of a shift. We're not going to do another one of the live-action movies. It's about all I can take from that shit. We are instead going to go with the CG films. The most recent one in particular, we are watching Resident Evil Vendetta. And I do hear this is the best one of the trilogy, so I am cautiously optimistic, but again, I'm going to go in with low expectations and judge it for myself, and we will talk about it in 2 weeks' time. Until then, thank you so much for watching. Peace out.